To add an image to a document is quite important to know a few small things. But before we look at that, remember that your document is not saved until you've actually clicked saved. So if you make changes here and do not click on the save button, then all those changes will be lost if you close your browser. So before we go on, to ensure that our changes are not lost, we will click save. Now these are two buttons here. One says save and close. If you want to continue editing and you're just maybe afraid you'll be, for some reason, lose what you've done and you're not done yet, what you would do is just click on save and it will reload the editing part of this editor so you can continue with your edit of the document. If you're done with your document and you want to save it and go to another document, you will click save and close. If you don't want to make any changes, maybe just looked at the document and see no, it's not the right one, you would just click close. Now, let's look at some of the concepts that is important to remember when working with images. Most images by default is way bigger than what you would need on a website. If you have a photo editor like Photoshop, you would go to image and image size and you'll see, well, important, we always work with pixels when we work with websites. It's the most consistent measure. The other measurements that are available sometimes would work out differently depending on your own monitor. So 3000 pixels is by far way too big for a website. If you are adding a picture to a document, then that should not exceed more than 400 pixels, I would suggest. If you say, well, no, I want to have it at least 500 pixels, then you're really pressing it. The reason being, if we look at a website, then you will notice that this website has a fixed width. And so most of our websites that we build, from here to here, it is around 1000 to 800 pixels wide. That means if you place any picture bigger than that on your website, you are slowing your website down unnecessarily. Sometimes we want to have a very good looking picture because we want to leave a good impression on our visitors. But putting a picture on your website that is bigger than your website is not going to improve the picture's presentation. In fact, it's going to give your visitor a very bad experience since it takes longer to download such images. And so, as I said, an image size between 500 and 400 pixels wide for articles are more than sufficient. So you would change the width of the image to 400 pixels. Don't change your image width in this area, but in the pixel dimension area if you are working with Photoshop. Because doing it this way preserves the picture's dimensions in correspondence with its resolution. Just another point, the resolution should always be set to 72. I know that many of the newer laptops and devices that are coming out is able to render higher resolutions. But the reality is the majority of our visitors still have just the normal standard computers, and so 72 will be more than enough. The only reason why you might want to use a higher resolution is only to cater to the 1 or 2% of those whose browsers are able to actually the computer as such is able to render a much more clearer image. What is important to note is that you should set the dimension of your image to the exact size if in what you will use it on the website. If you plan to use the image on the website, let's say in 200 pixels, then don't save it in 300 and think I will use the editor to downsize the image for me on the website. What this will in effect do is the client or the visitor will open your website. It will download the big image and then only downsize it. So it again slows down your website, and it's really not necessary, since the downsize will even look worse than that which Photoshop is able to achieve. If you are not able to use Photoshop, a free option will be GIMP. You will go to gimp.org and you can just click on download. This is an open source project and you can use this photo editor for free. It can achieve almost everything that Photoshop is able to, but it's not that easy. So the only downside to GIMP is the fact that it's not that user friendly. I started out with GIMP and in fact I still from time to time make use of it. So in GIMP you will have the image open and then you would click on scale image. Don't click on canvas size, as this will only change the canvas and not the image size itself. Once you clicked on scale image, you'd see this dialog box, and make sure to connect this chain so that if you change the width to 400 and then click on height, it will automatically update the height. Leave the resolution to 72 and select the most appropriate, well, you can leave it on default. This is just a method in which it will downsize this image. Click scale. As you can see, it will then scale down your image to the most appropriate size, and you will also save the image for the use on the website in this size. In Photoshop, you don't always need to downsize the image with the image sizing option. There is a quicker way. In fact, as always in Photoshop, there is 100 ways to do one thing. But for our purpose, we'll simply do it the normal old-fashioned way. And so there we have the image also then resized to the appropriate size, and we'll click on save for web. This usually high is usually enough. Keep an eye on your size of your file here. The lower this is, the better. And so you need to sort of find out between quality and speed of your website. I usually try to bring it as low as 23. Anything under 30 kilobytes is really very good. And as you can see, our image is being shown to us. It still looks very presentable, and so you would click save, and then I'll just dump this on my desktop and call it demo and save. Okay, that is just a few important things, like I said, to remember when you add images to your website, that your size of your image must be set before you add it. Don't try to change your file size on the website itself. It will slow the website unnecessarily down. Okay, so next let's look at actually then adding that image to the content.